Oh, my hallelujah, gamalabay. Knew it would be because I got shivers from it and all. Oh, my God, yeah, man.
Well, hey, everybody. Welcome back to Hanging Out with Successful Bar Exam Takers. And this is a call that I have waited a very long time to do and an interview that I am so excited about. I want to introduce you to Alex Medina, who has just passed the UBE exam in the District of Columbia. Hey, Alex, how are you?
Good afternoon there, Jackson. How's everything?
Well, it's great. You and I have quite a history over many, many years, and I want to explore some of that today. But I know that for our audience, we're kind of bringing them in the middle of a very long story, and we're probably going to have to back up a little bit. But I don't want to bury the lead. When did you take your first bar exam? Do you remember how long ago it was?
Oh, I remember there, young man. It was a long, long time ago, back in 1991.
1991. And so from 91 until 2019, with some stops and starts along the way to get to this point. And it must be an incredible feeling for you.
Oh, it's definitely one of the best feelings in the world, on so many levels,
Yeah. Let's go ahead and sort of let our audience, why don't you go ahead and tell a little bit about your background and a little bit about your journey and how it began, and then we'll sort of bring it up into the current day, okay?
Oh, hold on. We're going to go that far back? Hold on.
Yeah,
I really have to use my old voice down here going, yeah, there, Shani. And nobody better be laughing at all my accents there. This is something that, no, back in, I've had a tumultuous ride, through college and then law school, graduated, 91 and went and sat for the bar exam, thinking, oh, I can do this all on my own. It's just reading the things and everything's perfect, which was not the case.
Yeah.
And then, I took the exam a few times down there in Florida. And that's when I first met you, back when you were in Hollywood still.
Yeah.
But I was foolish back then. I was a young pup, and I did not know that I should take this course with Jackson. I ignored that part of it and, didn't listen to you, although we did become friends back then. But I thought always, I can do this always on my own. And then that's when the kick dog syndrome came into effect, which I know you'll be able to elaborate more.
Well, no, let's talk about that. The kick dog syndrome is a big deal. It's a real thing. Why don't you go ahead and explain it? Because I know that you really felt that.
Oh, well, the thing is that even though I was prepared, I was always doing the things. And when I did, started taking them with celebration and we started doing everything, my essays were good. They were passable. I always came within 1 or 2 points. I hate to say that I was the missed by 1 point. If only I'd answered one more question right, that I would have passed. And it's a psychological thing, because even though you're feeling good, you're feeling positive and everything, you still go into the exam and you self-sabotage yourself without even realizing it.
Yeah, and that had to be pretty hard. And I know that there were, again, for our audience, Alex is not exaggerating when he says he missed by 1 or 2 points a bunch of times. It was unbelievably frustrating for him, and certainly for me, to watch this happen. But it became really a huge mental barrier for you, wasn't it?
Yeah, and even with all the things that, we had talked about, with learning strategies, center points, photo reading, with Millicent and everything. And even, yes, I will say went to the neuro-linguistic programmers and hypnotists to try and get over this, but it was just something that it seems that I was that dog that, even though it's like going, get away from me. I always, wanted to go back and go, this time, is it okay this time? Am I good this time? And I didn't realize that I was actually sabotaging myself, and unconsciously and all.
And what do you think changed that for you?
Well, it was switching over to the UBE
Yeah.
because I mean, we discussed this, and you started saying to me, it's like, Alex, you do know that you've passed. You saw my papers, you saw how I was writing, doing my mind maps and everything, and even I was with the practice OPEs and all the other tests and everything that I would do for MBE and all. I was always scoring in the 140s, 150s, raw, not scaled, raw scores that
Yeah.
I was getting high. And I finally said, this is ridiculous. And you had suggested at that point, it's like, Alex, take the UBE, take DC.
Yeah, to be clear, you started with the Florida exam, and the Florida exam is one of the 2 or 3 toughest exams in the country in terms of the pass rate, the cut score. It's also one of the more difficult bar examiner groups. They play head games with applicants. They're very rigorous. They're very demanding. They're very inflexible. And I think for you, after literally decades of going and getting kicked and going and getting kicked and going and getting kicked, thus the kick dog syndrome, it became a point where you literally, no matter what you did, there was some deep level that just was, I just can't get past the Florida examiners. So when the uniform bar exam came along and became a viable option, one of the strategies that you and I discussed was, why don't we just have you take the UBE instead of the Florida exam and see what happens? And that was what led you to sit for DC in February of 2019, correct?
Oh yes, and that was a fun venture, especially with the government shutdowns. And is the bar going to be given? Isn't it going to be given?
Yeah.
Are you going to go to Tennessee? Do you have to go to New York now? Do you have to da 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 da? And it was just something that was a bit of a nerve-wracking experience, because there was that uncertainty. But I said to myself, you know what? I can care less of what's going to go on. If they do postpone the DC bar exam overall, okay, so I'll take it in July. But I am studying the material. I'm studying my MBEs. I'm studying my things, and I'm going to new jurisdiction.
Yeah. And so you took the exam in DC, February 2019, and that had to be weird after having taken the Florida bar exam so many times, because as rigid as Florida is, DC is, even without government shutdowns, DC is quirky at best as a jurisdiction, isn't it?
Oh, yeah, but I will say this. They treat you with respect in DC.
That's true.
Florida bar, because I do have certain accommodations that I use, not the special room, but I'm there with everybody else. I have my little tablet stand, so I don't have to be going like this all the time. I had my stand, I had my my juice and my things that I needed, because all of that is prohibited in the Florida bar. But they made accommodations for that.
Mm-hmm.
But going through the metal detectors, those huge lines, everything, it's like you feel degraded. And I think that was part of it also. It's sort of like, if you take it, you pass it, you're a lawyer and all that, but it kind of degrades you as a person. While with the DC bar, it was, yes, they still have, the guy there with the wand, and you can't bring this in, you can't bring, all this other stuff, but they treat you with more respect. They treat you as an attorney, like you would just be going into the courthouse, not like you're going into, the federal prison.
All right. And it does make a difference. It's a smaller, obviously a much smaller exam, and a better environment generally. And you passed the UBE on the first try.
Oh yes, first
Yeah.
try on the UBE. Took it, passed it. It wasn't even, you just missed it by a point again. Oh no, actually, I'm a point over. Although they scored it
which
at one
means
way.
that Yeah, which means that you're eligible for licensure in about 25 states, including New York and New Jersey, a bunch of places.
Oh yeah,
It's got
South
to feel
Carolina.
pretty amazing, doesn't it?
Oh yeah, no, it's fantastic. Even myself, if I want the warmth of Florida, actually I can now go to the Virgin Islands with my 266, and I can practice down there, man. Is great.
That's a pretty good deal.
My Jamaican, my Caribbean accent is horrible, so
That is terrible. It
you'll have
really
to use that.
Okay. All right. Well, we're going to circle back around here a minute and talk about what you did to study and how that happened. But I think it's important to point out to people that one of the most endearing things about your story is that you refused to give up. I think most everyone would have long ago walked away and said, it's just not going to ever happen for me. And that was not, I mean, there were times that you walked away for a while, but then you kept coming back and trying again and trying again. Can you talk a little bit about what your mindset was, why you decided it was important enough to keep trying this?
Oh, because I'm so hard-headed to begin with. Why did I go to law school? Why did I do? To me, and you were talking about those, gaps in there. Because, I had my own business. I had, a lot of other things going on. And it's not I need this to work. I need this to, to survive. But I had the attitude of, well, I need to take, I went to law school so I can learn for my business, so I can learn for, myself and all. And at the same time, I always had the attitude of, okay, well, if I don't pass it, I can take it again. If I miss it again, okay, there's another time. And that's how come, after the 5th time, then I said, okay, I'm taking a break now. I'm going to concentrate on this, with the business. Then, went back. I said, okay, I'm going to concentrate on this. And then, of course, family problems and divorce and this and the other and yada, 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 yada. We came, then back again, came back in, started taking it again. But that is the one thing I will say. I always had the attitude of, well, it's like, it's a game. It's a thing. I'm just there and I'm taking it. That's the one thing now with the DC bar, doing the photo reading, doing all that stuff. I did it with the mentality of, oh no, I'm in this to win. I'm in this, and not take that lackadaisical, laid back approach. But I'm in this to win. I'm in this to, to do this. I can do it, as you yourself have said, Alex, the stuff, the material. You just need to, get past this hump, which is what happened.
Yeah, it's really extraordinary. I tried to think when I got I'll talk about in a minute when I got the news from you that you had passed. But as I was thinking about students that I have known over a long period of time, the truth is, obviously we had students back in the early 90s. We started in South Florida, in Hollywood, Florida, actually, as you said. But I didn't have a student that stayed with me on and off for that period of time. And so over the years, I have watched all of these different things happen in your life, your business, your growth, the challenges in your family, the development, the moves to different places that you went through. And watching you as a friend and a colleague and a mentor, but really mostly as a friend, just going through that entire process, you have always had a level of just calmness and persistence that I find incredibly remarkable, but inspirational. I mean, you just, teachers have their favorites over the years. You're clearly one of my favorite students, over the years, not because of the successes, but because of who you are. And so watching this journey for you has been really an extraordinary experience for me, just to see that you weren't going to give up. I mean, there were times that I was ready to give up and you were like, nope, I'm not giving up. I'm going to keep at it. I think I can get there. I know I can get there. I just need to work at it. And so what most people don't know is that your journey was a large piece of my decision to try and move our course to add tools like photo reading and paraliminals and meditation. and I'm not sure you even know that, but the reason that I started looking for those tools was that I had your circumstance and a few others like you, and I really felt like you were smart enough, talented enough, certainly hardworking enough, but there was just some barrier there that was keeping you away, and we needed to find some tools to help. And so I went out and started looking and researching, and the first big tool I came across was PhotoReading, and we introduced you to that pretty early on in the process. Do you want to talk to our audience just a little bit about what PhotoReading is and what difference it's made for you?
Well, PhotoReading is an amazing program. Paul Sheely and all of them, I love them. Millicent,
Yeah.
God bless her. Yeah, she's a wonderful woman. PhotoReading is a new way of absorbing material. You are not reading. People think, oh, I'm reading this. It's going to be like doing the reading, you know, at your 100 or 200 words per minute. It's not that. You're actually, think of your brain as a huge computer where you're dumping this information in. Now, and it is, as they quite literally say, flipping the books. Relax, relax. 1, 2. Oh, I'm sorry, I did that backwards. 4, 3, 2, 1. The tangerine and the click and all that. It seems silly, and it seems to a lot of people that it doesn't work. But if you do it correctly, if you don't consciously think about it, if you just let it come in, you're depositing all of that into your data bank. That's in your inner mind. Your outer mind is just there for, like, talking now with you, and thinking of the things. But that inner mind really is what takes all of this into consideration, and it's learning how to then be able to share it from the inner mind to just trust intuition and flow it out.
And
Because
mind maps were a big part of that for you, weren't they?
Mind maps are a huge thing.
Yeah.
They are a godsend. I wish I'd known about this when I was back in high school and everything.
Yeah.
Way, way back when. But it's one of those things that you don't think, oh, mind maps, that's ridiculous. It actually helps you organize because you have your central theme. And then from there, you just start, going off and, you go clockwise and you start bringing everything into focus. So later you're activating, which is part of the photo reading, and you're actually bringing it all together. So it is flowing in your mind, and this is the way it's got to flow. Just, don't think about it. Just let it flow. Right. Let everything flow.
So before the UBE exam, you didn't read word for word, line for line. All you did was photo read and mind map and go through the lectures and do question practice, correct?
Correct.
Right. And you created mind maps for not only the multi-state bar exam subjects, but then you had these new subjects of the UBE, things you had not ever tested before in Florida. So there were new subjects to you, things that were not part of the Florida exam. And you went through the same process of photo reading and mind mapping and working through the lectures. And you had a different essay format. It was a half an hour instead of an hour. So there were a lot of different things, a lot of different moving parts there for you, correct?
Right. And also, like with the MPT being an hour and a half.
That's right. You didn't have an MPT in Florida, so that was something completely new, right?
Yeah, this was all new and everything. But I did keep, to the FLA, the facts, law, boom, facts, law, analysis, facts, law, analysis. Oh, and then, of course, conclusion.
Yeah.
But, I just kept to that format. And even when I was doing the exam, it's like with the MPTs in the morning. Oh, I knew the first one, I nailed it. It's like, I sort of felt like, here's your answer key. The second one, ooh, that kind of threw me for a loop. But I just kept there with the format and said, okay, let me do FLA. And it's like, I may not know it, but at least I can, wing my way through this.
Mm-hmm.
Same in the afternoon with my MEEs. I 4 of the 6, I know I nailed them. Two of them were like, ooh, what am I doing here? But it's sort of like, okay, the facts, the law, no, facts, law, analysis. And even though I didn't quite know it, but I winged it.
Yeah, and I think one of the keys of photo reading is that you get into that writing style and it's just in time knowledge. As you're writing the arguments, the law comes to you, right? And you're like, I don't know where I knew this from. It's from the photo reading, it's from the activation, but it's not in your head until you need it.
Right. And it was just, I'm just letting it flow and I'm winging it.
Yeah. And then you got to the multi-state bar exam, day 2. How long did it take you to finish 100 questions?
If I had done it my normal way, it would have taken me about 2.25 hours, 2.5. Myself, though, I just said, you know what? I'm just taking this slow. As always, first thing you do, photo read it, just not even think of it, relax, read it, forward, took it, flipped it upside down, went backwards. And then I said, all that I photo read, is in there. I'm just trust, my intuition and let it flow.
Okay. And then you got through all your questions.
And I went through, did all the questions, and I took my time about it.
Good.
When all of a sudden I went going a little bit too fast, I said, Alex, relax. You've got the time. You're going to be here all 3 hours anyways. Might as well take it, enjoy it. I took a little break, went used the restroom, drank some water, came back, and then I was there and having my M&Ms.
Yeah.
Because after a while it's like, okay, here's an M&M. Here's okay, let's keep going.
Yeah.
And I was able to do it nice and relaxed. I didn't pressure myself of, oh my God, I got to do it in 1.8 minutes. No.
Yeah. And I think those sort of that general approach, that attack to the exam obviously worked and worked very well for you. One of the things that you did, you came to our first boot camp that we held, our live training. And I want to talk a little bit about that. What was that experience like for you to be at boot camp? We were talking about photo reading and how to employ it. But share with us a little bit about that.
Well, I loved boot camp because the thing is, it was actually putting it into practice. Because as much as you photo read and you do all these things, when you're by yourself doing it, yeah, you're kind of like, okay, am I doing this? Is it correct? At boot camp, actually, everything just quelled together. It just both just fit. I was blown away with the mind maps because even though, yes, they talk about mind maps and all in the photo reading thing, I never really did it until at the boot camp. And then at the boot camp, I was able to, expand on it and grow with it. And it was, it was marvelous.
Yeah,
having it there.
You did pretty extensive mind maps. You had done them on computer, right?
Yes, I did mine on computers. I did it freehand. At the end there, when I was doing my mind maps, actually I felt, even though I like computers and everything's nice because it's nice and clean and all, but doing it freehand, actually, it's one more activation into it because then it is the muscle movements and the things and
that's very cool.
It made it grow and everything.
Yeah, and boot camp obviously was this opportunity to get live instruction and learning about photo reading and how to apply it to essay writing and multiple choice test taking. And you took those skills and you went and used them. And you have a very interesting tool you showed me before we started, and I want to just have you share it with people. It's a special pair of glasses that you use. Can you show us those?
Oh, yes, hold on a second. Here, it's the groovy bee glasses type things.
Yeah, so for those who are just listening and not watching, Alex has a pair of what look to be sunglasses, but they've got hundreds of small dots in them. What was the purpose of these glasses?
Well, when you go to the optometrist and they're doing the tests and all, and they said, okay, cover left eye, cover right eye, but then they'll come back and say, oh, hold on, now let's put it the one with the pinholes in them, and your eyesight actually is a little bit sharper. Now, myself, using glasses and all, I was like, oh, this is interesting. And I saw these glasses on Amazon. And I said, you know what? I'm going to buy them. I'm going to use them for photo reading. And they actually, were great because I put them on, and as I was photo reading, I was even less conscious about the books and everything. I kept saying, okay, as long as I see, the four corners, and I'm flipping there, and I'm just focusing on the middle, and then, everything is just, as I'm flipping, it's all there. And my vision was just sharper, and it just like snapped in there more. It was just an extra little tool that I used.
Yeah, they're sunglasses with pinholes is the best way I can describe them. And it's a really interesting approach because what it does is it creates a softer focus. And so as you were reading, you were able to then relax, be more in the moment, and be able to do it. I think people often ask me, will photo reading make a difference? I think you're a very good example of where photo reading makes a huge difference. For the efforts that you had, we saw your scores plateau at one point, and then we added photo reading, as I say, because I thought we needed to bring in some extra tools. And that's when you started getting really close and not quite over the top. And I know that was frustrating, but then we added paraliminal recordings, and we added holosync meditation. We started working on some of those things. And then I recall a conversation you and I had after one results in which we saw this really weird scoring pattern for you on the multi-state. You remember that, of course, where you had some categories where you were scoring in the top 10 and 15% of the nation on a subject, but then in the bottom 3 or 4% on another subject on the same test. You remember that?
Yeah. And then the next test, it was flipped over.
Right.
And that was one of the most perplexing things. And then that's when the kick dog.
Yeah. And I actually went to Paul Sheely at that point with your scores. And I said, Paul, I can't figure out what's going on here. This is somebody that's smart and working hard. Why are we getting this weird anomaly result? And he looked at it for a while. We talked about it. Millicent got involved. We talked a little bit more. And we're talking about Millicent Sinclair at Learning Strategies, who's one of our co-teachers. And we looked at it, and the general consensus was that what was happening was that on some of these subjects, Alex was literally relaxed and comfortable and letting the intuitive approach. He was responding to the questions. And when you did that, you were fine. You were scoring very well. But then you'd get to a subject or a question and you'd tense up, you'd tighten on the question, you'd start to be nervous, almost like you were, out over your skis, or Wile E. Coyote who's just run off the side of the cliff. And you'd look down and become aware suddenly that oh my God, I don't know this in my conscious brain, my outer brain. And then you'd freeze up, and you would it would be as though you'd never studied, because we hadn't put any information in your conscious mind. It was all in your non-conscious. And so those low scores were the scores of somebody who hadn't studied for the bar and just walked in to take it. And it was this weird anomaly, and we had to, and this is what helped us understand that what was really going on was getting you clear enough and confident enough to just trust yourself across all 7 subjects instead of a subject or 2 subjects per test. Is that a fair statement of the process?
Yes.
Yeah. And go ahead.
Well, as I was saying, it is one of those things that, like the Wile E. Coyote, it's like, oops, oh, hold on. And all of a sudden, instead of just letting the intuition and everything just flow, I let the consciousness come in. And it's like, no, I can't be conscious about this. I have to be unconscious to be able to let everything just flow.
Yeah. And that sounds so odd to people, and it sounds so terrifying. But in point of fact, that was the key. That was the breakthrough. Once you understood that you had to be in the flow, which is where the paraliminal recordings and the holosync meditations came in to help get you into that mindset, then you were able to just let the exam happen rather than trying to force your way through it. Is that fair?
Correct.
Okay. So you take the exam, you leave DC, you've done all of this work, you've been through this so many times. What's it like waiting? Because DC is like the very last jurisdiction to release results.
Oh, and this year they had a fun method. I
Yeah.
don't know if they've even publicly posted yet, but yeah, it was a waiting. But you see, even with this one, every time I waited for the Florida exam, I always got a little bit, with the anxiousness, and it's like, okay, come on already, come on already, come on already. With the DC bar, I just felt like I got it, I passed it. And then, it was supposed to be out on the 16th. Then they said, oh, we're going to email you now. I'm like, oh, what in the world? Are you emailing me? And I'm like, oh, okay, I'll have to wait. And then on Monday, it was every so often going back and going, is it in this hour? No. Is it in this hour? I just want it over with already.
Yeah.
And finally, when I got it at 4:15, and I looked and I said, oh, yeah. Yes, that's the little dance that I did. You don't think I could, but I did it. And it was just, and then that's when I had to, get in touch with you and go, yeah, passed it.
Yeah, I had just gotten off a plane at LaGuardia, and I was in an Uber heading to my son and daughter-in-law's graduation from Columbia. And so I was, proud dad. And suddenly on my phone, a message pops up, and it says, you won't have this dog to kick around anymore. And well, I knew if I saw dog and kick, it almost had to be Alex. And so I'm like, what? Oh, geez, man. What, is he walking away? What's going on? And I read another sentence in, it's like, I passed the DC bar. And I let out a war whoop, scared my Uber driver. We damn near crashed the car. And and Sarah looked at me and said, what? And I said, Alex passed. And she knew. And she was screaming too. So, it's a tradition in these interviews, Alex, that, we know that while people are studying and preparing for the bar, they feel like they have their lives on hold. And once they've gotten over this and passed, that they get their lives back. And so we like to have that moment, that release moment, where we give you the chance to yell, I have my life back. So I'm going to embarrass you now and make you do that.
I have my life back.
That's way too calm. So I'm going to count you down, 3, 2, 1, and I want you to really let it rip, okay? So here we go. 3, 2, 1.
Oh, my hallelujah, got my life back. I knew it would be. Oh, look at this. I got shivers from it and all. Oh, my God. Yeah, man.
Okay.
Okay. Well, you probably ruined that forever, but okay, that's great. So congratulations. Yay. That's terrific. But, I know that, all kidding aside, this really has been a part of your life that has just been there sort of sticking at you for so long. It must be an enormous relief to be done with this.
Oh, it's great to be done with it. And even now, I'm, yes, I got my score, and there are a few jurisdictions, because actually I want to go practice in Texas later, in North Carolina. But I'm to the point right now where I'm like, hey, I've got this. I know this. I can do this. And one little thing, I'd shared with you the Andy Shaw's book, A Bug-Free Mind.
Yes, I've got the books to give back to you.
Yep. Oh my God, that means I've got to go back there. One thing that he says in there, which I think a lot of people don't take, is just to think, when depression is the past, anxiety is the future, you have to live now in the present. Yeah. And the paraliminals, the hollow syncs from Centerpoint, the photo reading, all of that makes you realize you're in the present. Don't worry about the future. Don't get anxious, because you can't do anything about the future. All you can do is now, and live in the present now. And that's why all of that, all just comes together. And, and thanks to you and all, I was able to finally realize I'm now in the present. Don't think about future. Don't think about past, because that luggage, what good is it going to do you? The future, what good is it doing you? It doesn't do you any good. Forget about it. Just think about now and what you have right now in the present.
Oh, that's awesome. Well, I think that's probably a great place to leave this. I know that your story will inspire a lot of people. I know that there are probably many people watching, listening, who are cheering along with me, who are just delighted for your success. This is one of the situations where the good guys win. And it's a remarkable story, probably one of the most amazing accomplishments that I've seen in the 30 years that I've been doing this. And I am to say that I'm proud of you, Alex, doesn't even begin to get at it. Obviously, I am thrilled for you, thrilled for what the journey has been like. I think that the philosophy you've just articulated from the, bug-free life, bug-free mind, is absolutely correct. I think Andy Shaw is correct about this idea that we have to live in the present. You have exemplified that in every step along the way. And I know that that will allow you, as you go forward, wherever you choose to practice, whether it's New York or Texas or North Carolina or DC or any number of places that you're now qualified for, to do what you want to do and to make a difference and to bring that same skill and perseverance to your clients that you've brought to this journey. So I am deeply honored that we've been able to be on the journey with you. It has absolutely been my great pleasure and privilege. And I'm delighted that I could share, and you would be willing to share your story with people today. So I want to thank you for that. Thank you for all that you've done. I know you have been, even in this process, a mentor to other students in the course. I hope you'll continue to do that through our work. And, just excited, so very excited for you. Anything else you want to wrap up with? I know we've covered a lot of ground here, but
Well, I have to give thanks to, of course, to Sarah. I mean, she's put up with you all this time, putting up with me. So in a way, she has put up with me also. But also to Kelly, to June, everybody there in the celebration, staff and all, for all their hard work and everything, with keeping everything up to date. I truly appreciate it. Mwah! I love you all. It's beautiful. It's great. And Jackson, of course, to you, thank you again from the bottom of my heart. And to everybody out there, it can be done. Trust in the thing. Don't just go, okay, yeah, I'll try this. No, have full faith in it. Truly believe in it. And with the Paraliminals, the PhotoReading, the HoloSync, you will see, your life overall. Don't just think of this for the bar. This is a life now that you have with this. And even now after this bar, I'm still going to be using all of this, in all of my work from here on out.
That's great. Well, Alex, congratulations from all of us at Celebration Bar Review and our students and staff, and I'm sure for our listeners as well. And to all of our listeners and watchers, thanks for being with us. I hope you've enjoyed this as much as we have, obviously, and we look forward to talking to other successful students in the future. But for now, we're going to sign off and say thanks. And again, congratulations, Alex. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Y'all come back now, you hear?